Sometimes a bad game can kill an entire franchise. This has happened many times in the past. Unfortunately, it's also possible for a good game to kill a franchise. Whether they just don't sell or gamers didn't like the changes, all the titles on this list ended up doing a lot of damage to their series. Get ready for 10 good games that destroyed their own franchise.
Back home, it was time for some R&R, the only way I knew how.
Rockstar made the third entry in the Max Payne series, and it was awesome. What other developer would dare to turn Max into a washed-up old has-been with a serious drinking problem? The game was solid, with lots of interesting locations around the world. Unfortunately, the game wasn't a huge hit like Rockstar's other franchises. It didn't even come close to selling anywhere near the likes of Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto. We're still very sad about the fact that this amazing franchise is pretty much dead these days.
Well, it wasn't perfect. In fact, it wasn't much good at all, but it was gonna have to do.
Can you believe the excellent Burnout Paradise killed the entire series? This game took the destruction of this arcade racer and put it into an open world. It turned out to be a great idea and gamers loved it. However, the Burnout games never became as popular as publisher EA would have hoped. That's why they made developer Criterion make Need for Speed games instead, since those always sell a lot based on the name. However, the terrible reviews for Need for Speed Payback will put the Burnout franchise back in the picture.
Would you act in daylight when darkness is your ally?
The Splinter Cell series used to be one of our favorites. We absolutely loved the adventures of Sam Fisher, and his latest game, Splinter Cell Blacklist, was pretty great too. However, that was 5 years ago, and we haven't seen a sequel since. Splinter Cell Blacklist let gamers choose between an aggressive or stealth playstyle. You could tackle missions any way you saw fit, and we really liked the freedom of choice. We weren't the only ones, as the game got good reviews and lots of praise. Unfortunately, it underperformed commercially, and Sam Fisher went dark ever since. The first Condemned game mixed psychological horror with an interesting fighting system. It was almost as if you were playing the video game version of the movie Seven. Unfortunately, the sequel took the series in a new direction. It focused less on crime scene investigation and more on action. The fans didn't like this change, and Condemned 2 Bloodshot was a commercial failure. However, it's still a very good game with lots of great moments. It's such a pity this series died, because we really would have liked to have seen a new Condemned on this generation of consoles.
Not in a million years.
Okay. We know the developers completely messed up the look of Dante in DMC Devil May Cry. They turned an awesome character into some obnoxious emo punk. However, DMC Devil May Cry is actually a really good game. The hack and slash action is great, and the levels are really original.
Now what we have here is some truly shocking footage of the terrorist, known as Dante, at the Bellevue Pier recently.
The game also has some extremely memorable boss fights. Unfortunately, fans of the series didn't give the game a chance and it flopped horribly. If the series ever returns, we're sure it won't feature this new version of Dante. F.E.A.R is another great series that mixed horror with amazing gunplay. The first two games gave us a very scary story about a little girl with supernatural powers. It had a lot of jump scares and quiet moments. However, the developers turned F.E.A.R 3 into something that resembled Call of Duty.
Everyone, eyes!
While the game wasn't bad, it missed the horror elements of the first two games. Fans didn't like this new direction for the series and it underperformed commercially. Such a shame, because F.E.A.R definitely had a lot going for it.
All units, this is Sergeant Callahan. We're under attack by an unknown enemy force. Fall back to Marine HQ to regroup.
Doom 3 is often falsely regarded as a terrible game that destroyed the series. While the game did put the series on ice for 12 years, it certainly wasn't terrible. The developers simply turned the run-and-gun action game into something that was much slower paced. It showed off some amazing graphical effects at the time, and we really got lost in the atmosphere. Doom got rebooted in a great way in 2016. This version of the game was fast-paced and brutal like the first two games. Sometimes it's better to never change a winning team.
Perhaps climbing up here wasn't the best idea.
Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands was the last entry in the famous action-adventure series. The game took the series back to its roots with lots of platforming and interesting time mechanics. However, fans weren't interested anymore because Assassin's Creed was taking off at the same time. Assassin's Creed was another game by Ubisoft that pretty much stole Prince of Persia's lunch. The publisher decided to focus on that series instead, and another 9 Assassin's Creed games came out since the poor prince got left behind in 2010. Watch Dogs is another great series that probably won't see any sequels soon. The first game wowed gamers with amazing trailers, but the actual release turned out to be a lot less impressive. Ubisoft took the criticism to heart and made a lot of changes to the sequel.
I think next time we're gonna need a higher firewall, pal.
Cyber Driver.
Action hero badass. Talking car, admit it, Josh. The car is cool.
Watch Dogs 2 featured a new protagonist and was a lot more upbeat than the serious first entry. However, the damage was already done, and gamers didn't bother to buy it. Such a shame, because Watch Dogs 2 was a great new direction for the series.
Thanks, man. Appreciate everything you did for me.
For sure.
But right now, can you get the hell out of here? You're making people nervous. Oh, hey, did you try Palma Grapple? It was good, right?
I never asked for this.
We still cry ourselves to sleep every night, knowing we won't get a new Deus Ex game anytime soon. The game got rebooted back in 2011 with the excellent Deus Ex: Human Revolution. However, publisher Square Enix really messed up while promoting the sequel. They came up with a ridiculous pre-order system that soured a lot of gamers.
If pre-order goals are reached, everyone gets to select one reward from each tier, as well as the ultimate prize.
Deus Ex: Mankind Divided still turned out to be a great game, even if it was a little too short. Unfortunately, it didn't sell well, and the series has been on ice ever since. Which game series do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
On.